So I flew back from London, I think on a Sunday, and then on a Monday, I was like, all right, I'm gonna move. I gotta get all my shit together, right? Get my motorcycle. Ugh, I had to deal with my motorcycle. It was so crazy. And get my motorcycle picked up and moved to North Florida, where I'm moving. And so then on Wednesday, the guys came and picked up my motorcycle. You ever seen the TV show? It's like old school. It's like Sanford and Son, basically like a junkyard and all Red Fox and all. I don't know if you ever saw it. That's basically who showed up to move my motorcycle.
Sanford and Son.
And I was,
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, please tell me this isn't happening with my I love my motorcycle, my Triumph.
He's got like an alligator in the fucking back of his truck. Yeah.
I had to help him load it up. When I moved it from California to Miami, I didn't have to help anything. They just took care of it. They were professionals, right?
Sure.
This one, they showed up. Guy's got a flatbed. It's uncovered. He doesn't know how to strap. I'm having to help. I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm never going to see it again. It'll be a miracle if I see it again. And it was too late. I was already getting ready I had to be up here. I had some meetings up here. And so I could not, I was like, dude, I got to leave my motorcycle with this guy. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy.
But he made it safe and sound?
Who, me? I made it safe and sound.
I was at the motorcycle.
No, the motorcycle did not make it safe and sound.
Really?
No. When I get it, it's like strapped to a different part of the trailer. The side peg where the footrest where the brake is gone.
What?
So yeah, dude. So luckily,
what are you gonna? Like was it insured? Like what? Like what's the?
Luckily, it's just the foot peg, and the guy that has a motorcycle shop, right? So I got it shipped to my buddy's place up here because I didn't know if I'd be up here yet. And they dropped it off at my buddy's place. And there's a motorcycle shop that's 2 blocks away from his house. And the dude who owns it is the wrestling coach at our jiu-jitsu gym here.
Oh, nice.
So I was like, oh my gosh.
Nice.
Shit show, bro. Shit show. Had a motorcycle helmet on it. It was gone. I'm just, dude, you're asking about insurance. I was just like, give me my motorcycle and I don't ever want to look at you again.
What did the guy say? Was he a dick about it or was he like apologetic?
Oh, man. He was some dude from the deep south and just a moron.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do? When you're dealing with morons?
You can't
win.
No.
I mean, morons always win. It's like a super...
Yeah,
it's like a superpower. When you're a moron and you're dealing with a moron, you're like, dude, there's nothing you say that is going to win. You can't penetrate the skull of a moron.
No chance.
It's their superpower.
Fuck.
So I knew that, and I was like, I'm outclassed here. I'm dealing with the moron. I can't win here. So
yeah. No, I'm with you on that.
You just take your lumps and you just walk away from a moron. That's all you do.
That's it. Yeah, 100%.
You don't try to convince a man ever.
Like, what do you mean?
No matter what you say, you're dealing with the moron. I've learned that a long time ago. As you get older, you realize every minute spent winning or arguing with a moron, you just lost. Every one of those minutes, you'll never get back.
100%.
That's why I don't do politics, man. Oh my gosh. Ugh.
And those people that all they want to do is just fucking fight about that shit. It's like, what's wrong with you?
Dude, someone did that to me the other day. They were like getting on my shit. They were like, dude, who you voting for? I'm like, first off, I don't watch team sports, man. I don't. I don't watch any team sports. The only sport I watch is jiu-jitsu. That's it. And really, the only time I'm really watching is pretty much no gi. I still watch some gi, but that's it. That's all I watch. I don't even really watch MMA anymore. And so I never, even when I played football as a kid, I never watched it. So I don't care about your team sports. All you're doing, you already know who you're voting for. Why do you care who I'm voting for? You want me to be on your team or you want to argue? Either one, you're an idiot.
it's very rare when you find people who want to like discuss and like understand where you're coming from. And like, and I love that. That I'll do that forever. And we could disagree and we could go all over the place and just, you know, spar. And I love that. But most of the time, that's not what people want to do. People just want to
and there's this thing where, and you know, there's the mind wants to attach judgment against other people's positions when you don't even realize that you're attaching, you know what I mean? That you have so much confirmation bias going on in assigning some kind of like, you know, morality or higher, you know, whatever you want to call it to your position.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
And people are scared and they don't want to admit that they're scared. So it's like, let's pretend that, you know, we're smart and we read Google and we know fucking what's going on, but we don't. We're just afraid.
No one knows. No one knows except that the only thing you'll learn is that over time is that every politician is pretty much a scumbag and they're going to they just care about themselves. So
yeah, they're just trying to win for their team. You know what I mean? Like it's like two mafia families that like, you know, go back 300 years and like they just go back and forth with each other. And it's like, all right.
That's how I feel like when people get all crazy about politics. I'm like, oh yeah, you're one of those suckers.
Yeah.
You got suckered in to believe,
I agree.
you know?
I agree. I mean,
right?
If it's the kind of thing that's ruining your day or that's making you seething with anger or fear, like, all right, you could be interested. You could have a point of view. You could, you know, have an opinion one over the other. All that's fine. But when you see people that really get knocked off their square from this stuff, that's the sucker. That's the person who is completely lost to what's really going on. Completely.
Yeah, and you know, for me, you know, I have a lot of friends that are on both sides of the political aisle, and I really have a really good feeling inside myself when I can connect with someone who I don't agree with. It's like I'm like, yeah, that's good. That's the way it should be. We should not be in a situation where there's so much animosity. You know what I mean? That you can't. The idea of this divisiveness to where I hate the other side is insane to me.
It's crazy.
It's insane. It is crazy. It's crazy. Because political positions, you know, move over time. And when you say, you know what I mean? Like you look at someone like Ronald Reagan, he would be considered pretty much a liberal today, right?
Yeah.
I think it was Richard Nixon who was conservative, you know, Republican, and he was all about universal basic income.
Yeah, there's so much back and forth and flip-flopping and like it's all, but they masquerade this shit like it's like good guys versus bad guys, and it's just not the truth. It's not real. It's like, you know, and also too, like even like the, you know, like why is it that, you know, everybody who's in their 20s, you know, leans liberal, and then when people get older and they start, you know, making a little bit of money, now they got something to lose, and all of a sudden they start to lean, you know, conservative, because it's like, it's, you know, life.
Self-interest.
Yeah, and life is so much more complicated than red or blue. You know what I mean? Like reality and like living in this country is so much more complex than like, oh, I'm liberal or I'm Democrat. You know what I mean? Like it's just, that's just not, you know, like me personally, like I feel liberal about certain things and I feel conservative about other things. You know what I mean? Like,
I think that's the healthiest position to have right there. And then to me, like, I understand, I agree. I understand when people vote for their own self-interest, and I think they should. I think that's what it should be. You know, it's like, this benefits me the most. I get that. That's the way democracy should work. But when people like vote against their own self-interest just because they have an identity to a certain political party or person, that's where it's like, that doesn't make sense. That's like, you're just trying to join a cult. You're joining a cult now. That's 100%. A cult of personality.
That's exactly what it is.
You need your identity to be told to you who you are and what you are. And that's fucking crazy. That's great. What have you been up to, bro?
Oh, I don't know, man. Working, fucking doing a billion different things. I'm getting ready to go back to the Dominican Republic. I sent a container of product over there. It's actually on the water right now. Never done that before.
What did you send?
A container of industrial packaging material, stretch film.
Oh, okay. For your business over there.
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
When I get there, I'm going to talk to one of my friends at that hotel and see, what they think about, renting us that space and if that would be feasible and
that'd be
and all that
cool.
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Do a little retreat. That'd be awesome.
I watched Hearts of Darkness.
Oh, what did you think, man? The making of it's the documentary we talked about it on the making of Apocalypse Now. Francis Ford Coppola, his wife directed it. What did you think, man?
I thought it was incredible. Now I've never seen Apocalypse Now. Now I got to watch it.
Did you see how he started going crazy?
Yeah, I thought it was amazing, and I thought like how it's we talked about this last time. It's like it doesn't matter how successful you are, every time you go to that, you go to the well, it's a brand new experience, and it's like you got to come up with the goods, and you got to, and I thought it was amazing when he was like, every artist, every filmmaker is afraid of being pretentious because you don't want to be pretentious, and I understand that, but then he's like, sometimes you just have to say fuck it and I'm making this movie because it's the movie that I want to see. And I'm like, yeah, Rick Rubin talks about that all the time. And I thought that was, and I loved so much too, like Francis Ford Coppola is a New York guy. He's got a New York accent. And like, that's me. And like, he's there in the middle of like all like these like California guys and like and he's just like talking like New York fucking bum. And I'm like, that's so cool. I loved it.
And they're on Dennis Hopper's like on acid. Dude, how crazy was that?
Totally. I
He sunk, Francis Ford Coppola sunk his entire fortune, all the money he had into that movie. If it wouldn't have, it was crazy, huh? He recently did that again.
With that Megalopolis or whatever it's called.
Yeah. I can't wait to see it. It looks awful, but I still want to see it. It looks crazy.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be like a 6-hour movie,
Oh my gosh, man. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. So, that's cool, man. Dominican Republic. You're stoked.
Yeah.
It's fall here, man. It's crazy. I went from Miami where it was just hot. And now I'm looking outside, man, it's just been kind of cloudy and it's not cold, but it's definitely getting to be fall.
It's chilling out over here too, for sure.
How's training going? Good.
Training's going good. I trained this morning. It's funny because I'm not like super dialed in, but I'm consistent, and like my brain starts to play tricks on itself. Like you got because I've been doing a lot of traveling for business, and during the period, it's not as easy to be locked in. It's not as easy. So, but like my mind goes to this place of like, all right, no, you're not doing the right thing. But it's like, no, I'm still getting training consistently. My weight is still on point. Like sometimes you just got to be cool with that. And it was like this active like conversation with myself. You know what I mean? Like you can't be burning on all cylinders in every category all the time. It's just not going to happen. And you got to be okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard and I get the same thing when I travel too, where you're just like so kind of in disarray and you're like, I just, I feel like I'm falling off, but at the same time, it's like, well, you're working out, you're doing this, and this.
Yeah. It's like falling off is relative. You know what I mean? Like you're not completely dialed in. You're not Vitruvian 5000, but like you can't be that all the time. You can't.
Yeah.
And I think overall, if you can get 85% consistency rates over long periods of time, like that's great. That's great. You'll have times where you're up in the 90s, you'll have that, but you can't have that expectation all the time. And that, it's a struggle.
No.
It's a struggle to accept that, but I think it's true.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's just more important that I am consistent with it, that even if I'm in a place where it's difficult to work out, that I do 30 push-ups. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That I'm at least like, okay, I'm going to stretch. I'm going to do a little bit of yoga. Even if it's 5 minutes, I'm going to do, 30, 40, 50 push-ups. I'm at least going to do something, even if I'm like traveling, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you have to be consistent. Even if I just think I was talking to some older guy about this the other day. So here in North Florida, I work with we have a big resort. It's a wellness resort. And there was a guy there who's like 63 years old and he was freaking jacked and in good shape. And we have a gym, and I was kind of talking to him. I'm like, man, you're in amazing shape. What do you do? He's like, I just 5 days a week. I never miss. I'm like, that's it. That's the secret right there. I personally think, and there was another guy, Lee Remedios, I trained with in London like a couple of weeks ago when I was there, and I was talking to him, and I was like, dude, you're 52 years old and you're in really, really good shape. What do you do? And he's like, dude, I just bust out a couple push-ups every day, and that's it. He said, every single day, I never miss. And he's like, I do jujitsu, but it's about, getting those push-ups in. But he's like, I never miss. And it made me think, I really believe this. I truly believe that, everybody wants to focus on how much protein am I getting? How much this supplement am I getting? How am I working out with my split correctly? Am I taking, you know what I mean? Am I hitting it hard enough? My position is that the body is such an adaptive machine that if you just give it resistance, like this guy Lee, who was like one of the first UK UFC fighters ever, really cool guy, but he has done like this workout, this minimal workout, for 40 years now, 30, 40 years. He's been so consistent with it. I feel the same way. I feel like people want to focus on this magic formula of, am I doing enough? Am I not doing enough? Am I getting enough reps? I'm like, go work out every day. Don't worry about if you're overtrained, if you're not overtrained. For me, it's like that scene in the movie Conan where do you remember this? The first Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Yep.
Where he's pushing the thing from a kid.
Yep.
Yeah. He don't have, there's no peptides. There's no nothing with that. He's just pushing the damn wheel, right? Every day, doesn't get a rest, and his body adapts. And so I think for me, it's like, go in there, work out. I promise you, if you go in the gym every single day and you do 20 reps of dips, and then you do like a few other things like biceps and triceps, just 1 or 2 sets every day,
little pump.
Your body is going to adapt. It's going to become it's going to become stronger, but your ligaments are going to become stronger. Your tendons, you're going to get sinewy. You're going to get ripped. I've seen it happen with people. And what happens is their mind wants to go, oh, I need to do this, or I need the perfect routine, or no, you don't.
Yeah.
Just do the work. Just get in there and fucking do it.
Over time.
Consistently.
Yeah, people. Yep. I agree with that. I mean, I'm almost on 2 years of real consistent work and, dramatic change, you know what I mean? And I think there's still plenty more to go, but just 2 years of really being consistent has made a dramatic difference in me.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
No, it's cool.
And once you get to the point that, so when you started, did at some point doing the work and having this ritual, did it become something that you craved?
Yeah. So now, I feel like, especially, I've been training jujitsu for a long time, and I've not that long, but like 9 years. But in that period, I really have not lifted weights much, little bits here and there. But about 2 years ago, I started. I was like, I got to do this, and then I got hurt, and then it was really, I got to do this.
I remember, right?
And so lifting weights has now become like, all right, this is just part of what I do. And I get a set, I used to not enjoy it. And I think that was a factor and, for why I didn't do it. But now it's the opposite. Now, I really enjoy doing it, and I crave, lifting weights and going to the gym. It's a whole, and I don't know, maybe I think there was a maturity aspect to it. I think that we've talked about this before. I think for some reason, I got to the place mentally and mature to where I was okay with the concept of I'm not trying to bodybuild. I'm not trying, I'm not Like I don't have any real specific goal of like, I want to have a big chest, or I want to, like, I just want to do this. I know doing this is going to be good for me. And I know that, the benefit will be, you'll look better. And I've found a way to lock into that mentally in a way that I never could before, I guess. And it's been great. It's been really great.
That's awesome. I think this is like probably one of the most important things in regards to fitness and wellness is the idea that we are creatures of habit. It's like know thyself.
Yeah.
And so, how do you hack your system? You do something enough times to where after a while, that's who you are. You become what you do.
Yeah. Sure.
And so if I go to the gym every day, after at first my mind might resist, right? And so I just need to go. But after a while, my mind will start to crave it. Yep. And so and no matter what it is, whether it's good or bad. And so that's why I was curious about asking you that. So for me, and that's why I emphasize with people, that I work with is that, listen, don't overthink it. Not only don't overthink it, don't even think about it. Just go to the gym, but don't overdo it, because what you don't want is for it to be something that's grueling and you hate and you're like, if you set a goal for yourself of just being in the gym for 15 minutes, then you won't hate it. You'll be like, okay, I'm going to make a challenge of it. I'm going to gamify this thing. And I'm going to say, can I get a workout in 15 minutes? That's what I do with myself. Yep. And so then you just go and you're like, okay, it's a game. And can I get a workout in? Yeah, you can. Just do dips, do push-ups, do whatever,
Yep.
But people, I think the most dangerous thing is working out too hard, because you burn yourself out and then you start to resent it. And then you look at the clock and you're like, I got to go do that to myself again.
Well, it's I found a way to do it without much expectation. And I think it had a lot to do with getting hurt. Like when I tore my shoulder and I had to get surgery, I was in a position to where I had to go slow. I had no choice. Mm-hmm. And I think that changed everything for me. It made me see and be aware of how much progress can be made in a slow, consistent pattern, rather than everything having to be like, all right, we're going to go fucking turbo jets on this, which is kind of like my natural state. And and I think getting hurt really, really helps. Although lately, both of my shoulders are super fucking tight. I need to like do some work. Have you been stretching your shoulders? I mean, I try and do that. My shoulders are so tight, Jesse. I struggle. That's why yoga for me every day, just doing shoulder stretches, like me doing this, like this is a bitch. Yeah. A bitch. That is hard. I gotta spend a little bit more time doing some mobility work. Oh my gosh, dude. I find that the mobility is key for me. But it's hard. I don't have, like, I'm like you, man. I'm like, my hips are super flexible, but my shoulders are not. Yeah. So, dude, I think that for me, what's been so great is that, I've actually lived like my own advice. The working out I've always done, but the yoga, I've incorporated that this last year. I'll say it again and again, that having incorporated just like 10 minutes of yoga every day in the morning, now I'm craving it. After, quite a few months, now I'm loving it. I'm like, man, and I feel so much better with that minimal, easy amount of yoga and stretching. I love that. I think as we get older, it's... Yeah, you got to put time into mobility and recovery and stretching and all that. Like can't just be the work part. It's got to be that part too, which is hard because now it's just more time, you know what I mean? But you got to do it. You got to say, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to do 5 minutes of yoga, One of the things, I love this right here. I'll show you. Like this one yoga pose where you go up on one leg right here. It's called tree. And just sitting right here. Dude, I love that because for jiu-jitsu, when you're passing, or really any kind of a sport,
you're using your balance so much. And that position right there and kind of moving through that position and staying on one leg has been so cool. Like to see like how my balance has improved, you know? And I've had to work on things like that with surfing and skateboarding and all, but it's really like when I first got it, it was like so difficult to stand on like one leg right there and like pull the leg up and get all stretch and everything, you know?
Do you still surf?
Anyways, what's that?
Do you still surf?
Yeah. I've got to get a board and a wetsuit now that I'm up here. So it's better up here in winter. It's hard, man, surfing when saying, yeah, I surf when you live in a place where it's inconsistent. You know, Miami, it was like 2 hours I had to drive, and I did to go get some waves. But here it's really more of a winter spot. It's like it's like New York, you know?
Yeah.
New York's the same way. There's great surf in New York.
Yeah.
What is it, Rockaway or whatever?
Yeah, I think Rockaway. Also, I know like out in Montauk, like there's a place called Ditch Plains.
Montauk, yeah. I've never surfed up there, but I know it gets really, really good, especially right now in fall.
Yeah.
So fall and winter, but it's cold.
It's cold, yeah, for sure.
So anyways, yeah. So it's good to be back and good to be, you know, getting moved in and, you know, and getting my routine down. I'm going to build out like a little studio here. This is kind of ad hoc, like I've been ad hoc forever, but it'll be good. It'll be good.
Cool, man.
What do you got planned for fall? Anything good?
No, I mean, you know, just we got a bunch of stuff coming. We produced a short film that should be coming out October.
Really? What's it about?
So I wrote a story about an independent. It's pretty appropriate timing. An independent political candidate that actually is going to win the presidency, and
really,
he's got like almost like 100% of the popular vote, and you know the boys in red and the boys in blue, they get together and they have him killed. So years ago, I wrote the story, and then a friend of mine who was like a director is like, we got to make this. So we made it in January of this year. And then I wrote all the music for it and stuff. So it's like, you know, it's a cool project for our company because it kind of encompasses like all of the things that we can do in one little thing. So that's almost finished. So putting that out.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's going to be exciting, dude.
Yeah. Excited about that.
So are you done with principal photography? Have you shot?
Oh, yeah.
Is it edited?
It's edited. We're just
post-production's done?
No, we're not finished. We're finishing up sound and music and coloring right now. So it's like the hope is by the end of this month, it'll be post-production will be done. And then start to kind of circulate it through the month of October leading up to the election, you know, see what kind of.
Dude, that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's going to be cool, man. It's going to be cool. That's rad. Let me see. So this last, what was it? 2 days ago, I woke up at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
You still TikToking?
Something that, what's that?
So you still TikToking at 2, 3 in the morning?
No, I'm like, no. I'm like, that's like my kryptonite, man. Right. But I was sitting there and I was thinking, and I was like, man, I was thinking about the concept of attachment, you know, and how attachment and how my mind will attach to things. And the idea that it was really profound, because I remember when I first was reading about Zen back in like 16 years old, and how they identify that attachment is really the root cause of all suffering, you know? And so I woke up and I was just sitting there kind of thinking about that. And I just had like one of those like moments where I was like, this is crazy. And attachment, this is a really big deal because, you know, when we attach to things is when we tense up. It's like in jujitsu, you know, jujitsu we use as a metaphor for everything. But, in jujitsu, when you're like, I am going to pass to the left, right? And this is the way it's going to go. And if you resist me, I'm going to break through your defenses and I'm going to get my way.
Yeah.
Right. That's the most un-Jedi thing ever. Right. The most un-samurai thing ever, where it's like, okay, I hit a wall. Now I immediately flow like water. That's the meaning. That's why the samurai studied Zen, was because in combat, they wanted to flow. They didn't want to attach to a certain way of doing things. And so I was like, yeah, I know that. I know attachment, is something that really causes us to suffer. And I feel now when my mind is flowing, or when it's attached, like I just got this guitar I showed you. Well, that is an attachment. When I start finding myself thinking about it, I'm not flowing. And so I was thinking about that. And I'm like, but, the reality is with attachment is there are so many things that we attach to that are not materialistic. They're not even in the real world. Like we attach, like the ancient rishis said that, all of life is Maya. Right. And that means illusion. Or that, that life is a movie, or there's so many metaphors in the Matrix. It was a simulation or we could say it's like a cosmic dream. We're in this dream together. Or maybe I'm just dreaming this dream. But really, what I was thinking about was it's wild how the reality is that attachment is a mental concept. It's something that I'm thinking and something emotionally that I'm feeling. I'm emotionally attached to the past. I'm emotionally attached to my expectation. You were talking about that earlier. Expectation is attachment.
Expectation is a big component. It's a huge cause of suffering.
And exactly. It's like, and that's what I was thinking about, dude. Exactly that. So when you said expectation, it kind of triggered to me that same thing, was that, think about it. What does it mean? When I was 16 years old, I couldn't grasp what was meant by attachment is the cause of all suffering.
Yeah.
But it was that right there. It was that we have expectations and we go into a moment and they ruin what could be a really rad experience.
I find that where I struggle mostly with this and attachment is like as it pertains to relationships with other people, like that, like individually by yourself. It's kind of like, if you're only, it's a lot. It's just harder when it comes to the expectations of relationships with other people, your role as a friend, your role as a sibling, your role as a husband and a father, you know what I mean? Like the expectations that are out there from society, the expectations that you put on yourself, and then the expectation that those people that mean something to you put on you. Like that's where I think that it gets super complicated, because it's like, you can't only live for yourself, but only you are all you'll ever really have. Like, you know what I mean? Like you'll only ever experience this life as you. So it's like, that's it right there. That is one of the heaviest concepts. But it's so heavy because it's like, I think it's pretty safe to say that like a self-centered, selfish experience to where all you prioritize is your own well-being is probably not the way to go. But at the same time, overly prioritizing everybody else is also probably not the way to go. So it's like, it's like how to strike the right balance that's natural to you and whoever you are and what your personality style is. And then, managing all of the social expectations, all of your internal expectations of like, you grew up in a certain way and like, you may have, a certain viewpoint of like how your father was to your mother. And like, maybe that's a positive thing for you and you look to replicate it. But maybe it's the opposite. Maybe you have such a fucking hard on for how your father was and you want to be the exact opposite, and you put all of your energy into not being this thing that is already so much a part of you, and you get fucked up that way. It's like it's the attachments and as it pertains to the relationships with the people in your life that matter. That to me is the most complex stuff.
When you go into into a jiu-jitsu tournament or a match and you're like, I'm going to do this thing and this is the way it's going to be, you're fucked. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you just described in relationships.
Yep.
When you're like, okay, this is the way it's going to be. I'm not going to be either the way it's going to be or the way it's not going to be. Is still not free flowing. It's still like rigid. And, Ram Dass, when he went to India and met Neem Karoli Baba at one point, who had nothing. The man had basically a shawl or a blanket. It was just a blanket. That's all he had. That's all he owned. And he was the happiest person. And Ram Dass was like,
how?
Well, Ram Dass was like, what Ram Dass learned from him over many years was he was pure love. Do you know why Ram Dass, he finally realized why it was that Neem Karoli Baba was pure love?
Because he was acceptant of himself?
He accepted everyone and he had no expectations of anyone.
Yeah.
He said when you were in his presence, he just loved you the way you were. He didn't care. And so one time Ram Dass was talking with him and talking about, Ram Dass wanted happiness and joy and all this. And he said, your father has a lot. Are you close with your father? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, relatively. And so he said, your father has a lot of money, right? He's like very, very prescient, Neem Karoli Baba. When you read about him, he was able to see, it was very perceptive. And Ram Dass was like, yeah, I don't know how you know that, but yes. And he goes, I think it would be good if you decided you would not take any of his money when he dies. And he was very wealthy.
Interesting.
And Ram Dass was like, that's my inheritance. That's my
yeah.
And Ram Dass gave it up.
Wow.
And he talked about it. And he talked about how it was the most healing thing he ever did with the relationship with his father, because from that point on, he had no expectations of his father. And then they just had pure love between them. They were able to have like, I'm just want to give to you and I just want to experience with you, however you are, whatever you are.
It's heavy
and
stuff.
He was tested in that way. And he said that was a major life lesson for him, because by giving up expectation, he said he realized there is no like real love without when there is expectation or judgment. It doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so it's funny you were saying that, man. So that's what he said, it's that attachment, that expectation. And so, one of the best books, you should read it. It's a short book. I found it on my mom's bookshelf when I was like 11 years old. It's called Illusions. And it was written by a guy named Richard Bach. And he wrote another book called Jonathan Livingston Seagull, which is like a really short parable. But Illusions is all about everything we're talking about. It is what really set me on my path. I read it when I was very, very young. It's a very short book. And it's all about the illusion of life. It's kind of like a parable about the illusion of life. And it's about this guy. It's called The Adventures of a Reluctant Messiah. This guy who was chosen, the author would fly prop planes around and give people rides for money back in like the 60s or whatever it was. And he met this other guy who was on a plane, Don Shimoda, who was also, and this guy was like a Messiah figure. He had like these, but he didn't want to be a Messiah. And he was like, I don't want to be a Messiah. I don't want to. But what he taught the other guy, the author, was that this world is an illusion. It's all an illusion. And, you just have to accept people for the path they're on. And you need to just find your own happiness and let go of all expectation and attachment. But it's really interesting that, we attach to it's interesting that, our attachment is emotional and mental. Those things come and go. They're illusory. In that sense, they are an illusion. And so it's very interesting that all these things, that we're looking at, it's like the things inside of me come and go. That means they're not real in the sense that they're not permanent, right?
Yeah,
they're illusory.
They're
illusory.
The come and going of it is so powerful because it's real. If you pay attention to yourself, when you're tight and then when you're loose and how it comes and goes, and it's amazing. It's amazing. And how what the things that trigger, the tightening or the loosening, and then you start to see the patterns there, and it's unbelievable. It's
unbelievable, right? And so go ahead.
No, it just makes you question everything. It makes you question
we should.
What do I think? You know what I mean? Like, what is it that I actually think? And it humbles me to where
here's the bigger question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here's the bigger question. Who am I?
Yeah. What am I?
What am I?
Yeah.
So in this world, right, that you have experienced for many decades now, your environment has changed, the ground has changed, buildings have changed. It's like the movie Inception, right?
Yeah.
And so everything's changing, just in movie time, things go faster.
Except the voice that's in there. That guy's still exactly the same.
Not the voice. The voice even changes.
The awareness.
The voice even changes. The awareness.
The awareness.
It's the only thing in the entire universe that you know of that is not changed at all. Yeah. Even the voice changes. What doesn't change is the pure awareness.
Yeah.
And that right there is what, again, we've touched on this before, some say is the basis of all reality, is that awareness. What some say is that, like Sir Roger Penrose, is that our brain is a quantum, not just a quantum computer, but a quantum receiver of a radio signal. And that radio signal is consciousness. There's a field of consciousness below everything. And it does not change. It does not think. It's just pure awareness. It's like the force.
Yeah.
That is reality. That is the only reality. There is no other reality, is what that philosophy is. Heavy, huh?
That's a good spot.
But it's when you think about it, though, it's so true, And I was thinking about it too. Like during points of meditation or psychedelics, you reach a point where you're like, there is no time and space. There is only awareness, right? That's the ultimate goal. Even if you only dip into that for a second or two or a little bit longer, and then you start to expand it. But there is no time and space. And so what does that mean? I was thinking about this that night too, is that not only does my brain attach to ideas of, not only does my brain attach to people, expectations, things, emotions, whatever it is, my brain is also attached to time.
Yeah.
And think about it. My brain works in a way where our brains work in a way where everything is linear, right? We're chronological, right? I'm here. I'm going there. I'm going to do this later.
Yeah. It's 7 days in the week. It's 24 hours in the day. You're scheduling, you know what I mean? At these times, during these days, I do these things, all of it. So we're completely set up for that.
Yeah. Because our brains work that way. We count, you know what I mean? Everything is built on that chronological, idea of sorting out the world. But what they say, what quantum physics says, is that that time and space are probably emergent. They're not fundamental. Panpsychism says the same thing. The only thing fundamental is consciousness. Everything else is built on top of it, but it's not real. Everything else above that is an illusion.
Well,
I'm an illusion.
They're just apps. The consciousness is the operating system.
It's crazy. So then I was thinking about, check this out. So when I was thinking about how when I was first learned about or heard about the concept of infinity as a kid, it was like, well, infinity is like if you count to 1,000,000 and you can add one, then it just keeps going. Infinity is at the end of, right, whatever number. But that's not it. That's what I was thinking the other night. I was like, that's not it at all. Infinity is not, it has nothing to do with the numbers. It's not at the end of the numbers. No. It's completely outside of it.
Yeah.
The ball, they think about it like they talk about like a multiverse. Like multiverse, we could have multiple universes that are just our space-time universe could just be a little ball. Right? On like the ocean, when a wave crashes, all these little bubbles form.
Yeah.
That could be our reality, is that we have this field of consciousness and then there's a perturbance in the field and that creates a bubble. And that bubble is our entire universe. And then, but around that, there are millions and millions and millions and millions of other bubbles, right? Those bubbles are infinite, the amount of them, right? But then they pop and they go and they merge back into the field. The field is infinite. It stretches out forever, but at the same time, it doesn't stretch out anywhere because infinity is not just something that goes on forever. It's something that it really has no space at all. It has no time. It's its own thing.
Incredible.
Crazy, right? Think of it like this. If a photon leaves the one end of the universe at the point of the Big Bang, let's say, and it's traveling as the universe expands, it's traveling across 13.8 billion light years, whatever, 33, whatever, however big the universe is. From the time it leaves here to the time it goes there, how much time has passed? Do you know the answer to this?
No. Infinity?
Yes. There is no time. At the speed of light, time does not pass. Wow. So it gets there instantaneously. There is no time. So our brains who are watching, we're on the outside, we're watching this thing pass. For us, yeah. But for the photon itself, it was instantaneous. There is no time and space for the photon.
It's wild.
It just is. It just is. When I did 5-MeO-DMT, that the psychedelic that Mike Tyson did I ever tell you about that?
I think so, yeah.
So when I did that, I came back and I was like mind blown. But I was like, all I kept saying was, "It just is. It just is." And the guide, she was like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, I couldn't even answer it, but all I felt was it just is. Everything just is.
Yeah.
It just fucking is.
Why waste any time going any deeper than that?
What's that?
Why waste any time going any deeper than that? It just is.
It's the wrong question. All these questions are questions of our minds inside of the bubble, right? That is our space-time universe, but reality, true reality, is outside of that bubble. And when you're outside of the bubble, those questions that are from inside don't even matter. They don't matter.
It's a good place to leave it.
Yeah, I know, right? We inside the bubble get so attached to, we got to know, and we got these questions, instead of just being like, okay, let it just be. It just is. I want to be with this person who I love, my kids, my wife, my girlfriend, my boy, whatever it is. I just want to be with this person and experience it for what it is. It just is. And not go with these expectations that ruin everything.
Yeah.
They start to cloud it and ruin it, right? Crazy, huh?
That's it, man. That's it.
I know. All right, brother. What do you reading anything? You got anything you can recommend?
I'm doing the Lord of the Ring of Power. It's season 2 right now on the Amazon Prime show. It's pretty good. I like it.
How is it? Is it
Not
good?
bad. Yeah, it's getting bashed, but I think I don't know why. I think it's actually pretty good.
I gotta watch it. I haven't watched it. I haven't watched that, and I haven't watched Game of Thrones and
it's cool.
Like the spinoffs.
It's cool because it's the story of before. It's the story of Sauron, which is very interesting.
I gotta watch that. Why am I not watching that?
It's really interesting, and it's like the beginning of like Middle Earth.
They were my favorite books as a kid.
Yeah, I would check it out. I would check it out for sure.
So what were you saying? The formation of what?
Like the formation of Middle Earth, and like going all the way back to the original villain who was Morgoth, and how like he lost the war. Really cool shit.
Oh, I gotta see that.
Yeah,
I gotta see that. I'm gonna watch it. That sounds cool.
Definitely.
I've been watching. My favorite movie as a kid was Time Bandits, and they just released it on Apple TV.
All right,
dude. If you haven't seen Time Bandits, Terry Gilliam. It's one of the greatest movies ever made, man. It's so rad. Yeah. Sean Connery, and it's so cool. But they remade it, and it's really a kid's movie. Your kids would love it. It's made for kids, and it's really fun, and it's very educational. It's very historical. Cool. They're traveling through time and all this shit, so it's cool.
Awesome.
It's cool.
Awesome.
All right, brother.
All right, man.
Till next time, let's do it, man.